Hey y'all, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to focus on completing a few of the roofs we see in this point cloud. And we're building this based on the work and preparation that we completed in our previous video. Alright, this tower roof will serve as a good starting point. Remember that our overall strategy is to use the point cloud as an accurate reference, but to be cautious about creating new geometry directly from the point cloud. Once we established that good starting surface, we want to favor the SketchUp geometry over the point cloud. Here's what I mean. Looking at our tower, our outer walls are established. So, in theory, the ridge line of this roof should be directly above this center point of the wall. And for this roof, it should also be parallel to the green axis. If we draw a reference edge, we can see that it's really close to a lot of the scanned points, and that is good. Our degree of accuracy is really high. But we don't want close. We want to keep our SketchUp model exact. So we'll continue to draw along axis directions and use good SketchUp techniques while referring to the point cloud. So let me start again with the tower roof. I'm going to draw an edge from this midpoint reference, lock it in the blue direction, and then reference the point cloud for a height. Then I'll draw an edge and lock it in the green direction for the ridge line. The length doesn't matter at this point. Okay, we could take most any of these points that are on this roof and draw another edge in the green direction. But I'm going to come down and focus on this corner and create a construction point from this view, just to show how this might be useful when we draw our edge from a different view and then can easily reference that construction point. Again, I'll be sure to draw my edge in the axis, even though you can see that the roof edge as built is just a tiny bit off the axis. And with that, we've got two parallel edges. So the standard rectangle tool should work just fine to create the roof surface. Just to show it, if I undo a few steps back to where I had just created the construction point, I could also use the rotated rectangle at this point for the same surface. Either way, we'll use push-pull at this point to give the roof some depth, clean up our extra edges, and reference the scan to complete half our roof. Now we can simply select all our roof geometry, make a copy, and use flip along or the scale tool to mirror the copy and move it back into place, based on the accurate ridge line we established from the beginning. That leaves a bit of overlapping geometry inside this roof, so I'll select it all again, choose to intersect with selected geometry, and then erase out the extra edges with X-ray turned on. And let's make sure and group our roof if we haven't already. Now, just to show another similar example, let's create this larger roof above the main entrance. Toggle on the building clipping box or the whole scan if you like. This time I'm going to simply draw two edges from points on the roof. Make sure we toggle our snapping to favor the point cloud, and then I'll start one edge. And because we've got point cloud snapping favored, we don't get the green inference showing up. So either toggle the scan off for a moment, or with the scan on, tap the left arrow key to lock the green direction. Now any edge length should do. And let's do this again at a different point, just making sure our edge is in the green direction. A quick orbit can confirm that we have two edges aligned with our roof scan. Let's toggle the scan off for a moment and draw a rectangle between our edges. Erase the extra edges, and now you can pull some depth into the roof and then pull the sides of the roof to the scan points. Or, if I back up a few steps, once we have our initial roof surface, I can right-click on it, choose Align Axis, and then use the Scale tool to extend this surface and reference the point cloud for distance. Either method works fine. Let's just be sure to get the top ridge as close to our reference as possible. And we'll come back to this ridge line in a moment. Also remember, if we changed our axis to scale this roof surface, we can quickly get our primary axis back through the scene we created in the previous video. There is a little bit of detail we could add at this point to the roof, or we could add it later. I'll just add this small step or soffit here before we mirror this geometry. Okay, like the other roof, let's duplicate and mirror this half of the roof. Snap it back to the ridge line. Intersect the geometry and clean up the results. Our roof is not finished though. Some of you will have noticed that we did not base this new roof on the midpoint of our wall geometry. So let's be sure to do that. Make sure our roof is grouped, and then I'll move this roof from the ridgeline endpoint, lock the red direction, and reference the midpoint below. It's kind of incredible how small this move is, and speaks to the overall accuracy of the scans. But even though this is a tiny alignment, it's so important to keep your SketchUp geometry clean and aligned. By the way, because we've been good about aligning our SketchUp geometry properly, it should be fairly easy now to edit our buildings group, select this top surface, move by this endpoint and lock it to the blue direction and match it up exactly with the roof surface. Then we can draw an edge from midpoint to midpoint and move that edge straight up to exactly meet the roof we created. And I'll do this for the tower roof as well. Now that you've seen the creation of two roofs, I'll speed through this large roof surface using the same methods we've already seen so that we can create these dormers on this roof. We could approach these in several ways. I'm going to use just some construction points and basic inferencing. Using the scan, I'll place a few construction points, and really I can get away with just two, since we have the roof surface as well. One at the top corner and one at this side corner. Now I can turn the scan off and use basic inference locking to create half of the dormer. And we'll mirror one half to complete the dormer and make this a component, since we are going to make some copies. I'll turn the scan back on to make a copy. But I'm also going to watch the measurements box for what the distance shows. And it looks pretty close to 17 foot 4 inches to me. I may simply type that in as a known measurement I can use again that is close enough. For example, if we look at these large bay doors below, they also seem aligned with the dormers, so I'll draw one. Let me get it close to the right size. And then make sure it is perfectly aligned with the dormer above. Now I can array this shape using the dormers as a reference, or by typing in 17 feet 4 inches, and it is remarkably close to the scan data. I'll push each of these doors back the same distance, and this model is starting to take shape. Ultimately, it's up to you and your own needs on finding the balance between the point cloud and the SketchUp model, and how many millimeters or fractions of an inch you want to override as you build out the model. One tool that can help you keep an eye on the model scan relationship is in the Point Cloud Manager under Inspection. Toggle on the inspection map and vary the comparison distance. Keep an eye on the point size as well when you view the inspection, as it will have an effect on the results. Alright, I think that's enough for this lesson. Again, the most important point is just to use good SketchUp techniques. Even when referencing a highly accurate scan, make sure your SketchUp geometry is clean, aligned, and you'll get good results.